Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, Tasmania's Education Minister has come under further scrutiny after contracting COVID while on holiday in France. The timing of her absence drawing criticism as parents scramble to get their hands on rapid antigen tests before public schools return next week.
It was all smiles for these students at Launceston Grammar as they welcomed in a new school year in the new normal.
The school emailed a plan out, so covered everything that you really needed to know.
So it was all managed, the kids were used to spaces, the desks were all spaced, and they seemed really confident that it was just the same.
While masks are optional for primary students, many chose to play it safe.
They had one in their bag, so I'm not sure whether they ended up wearing them or not.
As public schools prepare to reopen in a week's time, many are still waiting on the delivery of rapid antigen tests. Cosgrove High telling parents they'll need to wait until Tuesday. On the northwest, Burnie High is still unsure when its stock will arrive, but Tasmanians are being warned to brace for more COVID cases when testing ramps up.
So with that many tests out there and an increased testing, I'm sure numbers will go up, particularly in school-aged children.
The Education Minister, not immune from the impacts of the virus, Sarah Courtney plunged into isolation while on holiday in France, drawing ire from her political opponent.
It is a complete debacle that we do not have an Education Minister on deck to deal with the issues in our schools right now.
Visitor restrictions have been relaxed here at the Royal Hobart as the state's COVID escalation plan was reduced to level 2 across the 4 major hospitals this morning, and as health officials grow increasingly confident the system is coping.
This de-escalation is primarily due to the reduced impact on our hospitals due to less staff being COVID positive or close contacts, as well as the reduced number of patients in hospital with COVID.
Tasmania recorded 666 new infections overnight and 13 people remain in hospital. Ainsley Kosh, 7 Tasmania News.
And Peter Gutwin has confirmed 20 Tasmanians forced into isolation have been paid for pandemic assistance grants. The state government receiving more than 2,500 applications since December 17. The Premier says many have been knocked back after becoming eligible for federal government payments.
Almost 20 applicants that have come through and been paid the state grant, because the vast majority are going through Services Australia.
13 patients remain in quarantine across Tasmanian medi-hotels. A third site has now opened on the northwest. A prominent economist says taxing interstate investors could be a solution to Tasmania's housing affordability crisis. It comes as a startling report is released into the rate the state's housing market is growing.
As house prices skyrocket around the nation and the state, one city leads the pack: Launceston.
2021, it'll be a year to be remembered forever because it's just broken all manner of records.
House prices there rising nearly 50% in a single year. Statewide, there's been a 36% increase.
The market is very buoyant. If you are a first home buyer looking to purchase, it's really difficult.
REIT's report found mainland buyers increased 54% over last year. 38% of those buyers were investors. There are concerns Tasmanians are being pushed out of the market by them, and one economist is bringing a novel solution to the table.
Extending to non-resident mainland property investors the higher rates of stamp duty or land tax.
Arguing less competition would lead to homes becoming more affordable.
And if that actually discourages some non-resident mainland investors from coming here, well, that would perhaps be to the benefit of local Tasmanians who are trying to buy their own home.
It's a concept already in place for foreign investors, but the Premier says the market doesn't need to be curbed, pointing to our nation-leading rate of home ownership.
I think that would fetter Australians wanting to invest in Tasmania, and I don't intend to move on that.
Investment-fueled prices are good news to those already in the market, but they're of little comfort for those trying to buy in. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
A driver has survived a horror crash on the Midland Highway, escaping without serious injury. Police say a white Daihatsu was travelling north around 11 o'clock this morning when it blew a tyre. The car flipped, landing on its roof. No other vehicles were caught up in the incident. Tasmania Fire Service and police attended the scene while traffic was slowed to one lane. Tasmania's theatre community is preparing to raise the curtain on a musical rom-com for the ages this Friday night. The final preparations are well underway to step into the spotlight for the Broadway show of Guys and Dolls.
Transporting back in time to the swing of 1930s New York.
I love you, a bushel and a peck, you bet your pretty neck I do.
The Old Nick Hobart Theatre Group are centre stage for their latest instalment, Guys and Dolls, the musical, bringing a touch of Broadway to Mount Nelson.
It's about a group of gamblers who essentially go on this journey of redemption and self-growth and help making friends along the way, I suppose.
It's really exciting to go back and explore the history of different eras, especially costuming.
In her final year of school, Amelia Howell is taking on one of the starring roles.
I'm playing Miss Adelaide, and she's a hotbox dancer and she's very bubbly. She's got a great, fun personality.
Anticipation is building as the time to wow the crowd nears, and there'll be plenty of eyes on the action with strong ticket sales.
It's been a long time coming to bring that golden age of musical theatre back into Hobart, so it's kind of been a bit of an honour to be the one to do that.
8 weeks of rehearsals have gone into making the show stage ready, but of course come opening night, the audience can expect that extra bit of excitement.
Usually stage shows have a bit more than that, but we've had quite a short rehearsal period, which requires a lot of focus and a lot of attention, but we've all really come together and it's been a really great experience.
Performances will get underway from Friday, where the talent will be in full supply.
Goodbye now.
Grace Evans, 7 Tasmanian News.
Some lucky Launcestonians who are mad about moths have joined the QV Mag collection team for a night, helping document the insects in Carvilla Reserve. Among the many species collected, some the lead collections officer had never seen before.
As night fell on Launceston's Carvilla Reserve, a group of citizen scientists gathered. With no more than some lights, a white sheet and some vials, they collected moths to be preserved long into the future.
We've done quite a few surveys in there during the day, but this was the first time that we'd actually put the light out in there.
With the help of the QV Mag specialist team, the group took around 100 specimens.
Interestingly, I've been doing a lot of light trapping in the Launceston area for the last few years, but we got a few things in there that I haven't seen anywhere else.
The event was part of a week celebrating Lepidoptera, the order including moths, insects and butterflies. The museum already has a sizable and colourful collection of insects.
Currently, we've got around 35,000 registered insects, but we're growing that at around 10,000 a year.
And now QV Mag is beginning to properly document the fauna that flutters through Launceston's green spaces.
If you want to create green zones, national parks and reserves to protect biodiversity, you can't properly manage those into the future unless you know what actually lives there.
Engaging the local community in that task, a key part of fostering a love of Lonnie.
It increases their understanding of our biodiversity, and through that, a bigger care factor about our local environment.
Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Western United is strengthening its newly found ties with Tasmania, offering the state's best young players the chance to train with its academy. The club says it's about creating elite pathways as the A-League ladder leaders plan a return to Launceston.
The best of Melbourne's West heading south for a second straight year. 2 matches over 4 days at Western United's home away from home, Launceston's UTAS Stadium.
Exciting things happening. Great to be back in the state of Tassie.
They'll face Macarthur FC and Perth Glory in April. Rising South Sudanese star Ajak Ju only came to Australia 7 years ago. Today was his first trip to Tasmania. His next, he hopes, will be with the top squad.
This is my first time and it's really good, you know. Hoping to come here with the boys and play here one day.
Sister side Calder United will also play a curtain raiser against a hand-picked state team.
Bring things like this to another state. It gives them opportunity and it gives them something to inspire, to be as well.
The three fixtures shape the week-long Festival of Football, which was launched today. The green and black connection with Tasmania is certainly growing. 5 talented South Hobart teenagers were invited to train with the Under-21s Academy squad last week.
Our network is growing, so we're starting to identify players, which is brilliant.
A Devonport youngster is also on the radar, as are women, as the club prepares for next year's expansion into the W League.
Certainly an opportunity for young male and female players to be exposed to this level of football, which is terrific.
Matthew Wade headlines a list of Hurricanes players who will go under the hammer at the lucrative IPL auction later this month. The Canes skipper is among the most expensive Aussies, with a base price at close to 380,000 Australian dollars. Other names hoping to be snapped up include Darcy Short, Tom Rogers and Riley Meredith, who last year at auction raked in $1.4 million. His starting price this time is $189,000. After making his NBL debut on Sunday for the Jack Jumpers, Sean McDonald has secured a spot in the Australian Boomers squad. He'll suit up for the 3-game World Cup Asia qualifiers later this month. Jack Jumpers CEO Simon Brookhouse has labelled him one of the most improved players in the first part of the season. More than 70 of the country's best golfers have hit the course in Mowbray for the first day of the Tasmanian Amateur Senior Championships. Players from most eastern states featured in this year's edition after being blocked by COVID border restrictions for the last 2 years. Golf Tasmania has labelled the local talent as the frontrunners to take out both titles.
Shane Walker won this event last year. He's a member at Launceston Golf Club. He'll be tough to beat around this track. We also have the likes of Tammy Hall, who's a legend in Tasmanian golf. She's a member at Prospect Vale. She'll be tough to beat too.
The championships will be played over 3 days, concluding on Friday.
Good evening. 22 was the state's top today in Launceston, 20 across Hobart and Burnie, at Devonport 21, 18 across St Helens and Strawn, Grove 19 and 13 in Laiwini. On the close-up shows areas of low-level cloud about Tasmania with a frontal band approaching the west coast. Further out, an extensive high-level cloud is seen over central and northern Australia with thunderstorms across most of Queensland. Tomorrow a trough clears to the northeast of Tasmania while a large high sits to the west. West to southwesterly winds tomorrow 15 to 25 knots, swells up to 4 metres in the west and south and below 1 metre in the north. A strong wind warning is current for the west coast, Banks Strait, Franklin Sound, Flinders Island and the east coast. Tomorrow's forecast now a clearing shower or two in Hobart, 20 across Cygnet and New Norfolk. In the north, partly cloudy about Launceston and Devonport, Campbelltown 19. Burnie and Strawn tomorrow 21, cloudy in Smithton. St Helens 20, showers developing in Swansea and Fingal 17. The UV forecast is reaching very high 10s across the state. Looking ahead to the 3-day forecast now, Friday mostly fine with southwest to southeasterly winds. Saturday mostly cloudy with possible showers about the northwest. And Sunday mostly fine with easterly winds. Capital cities 37 and sunny in Perth tomorrow, Adelaide partly cloudy and 24 in Sydney. And currently Hobart mostly cloudy and 16, Launceston 19 and Devonport partly cloudy and 19. That's all in weather, Kim.